Kamala Harris broke her post-election silence this week by releasing a video where she talked to her supporters like your drunk uncle who corners you at Thanksgiving dinner. Kamala is looking like this election loss has hit her hard. She's always had a reputation for dipping a little heavy into the Chardonnay, but now she looks like she's aged 10 years in the last 3 weeks. She even spent the last week on vacation in Hawaii, and it seems like instead of surf and sun, she spent this week trying to pickle her liver in record time. I can't believe that the Democrats' official Twitter page put this video out. It's almost like they're intentionally trying to torpedo any hope of a political career she might have had. It would be sad if she didn't absolutely deserve it. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Hello, everyone. I have a bit of a fun show today. I actually had a bunch of stuff written down. It was all lined up. I had notes. I had a bunch of stuff I was wanting to talk about. And then this morning, I kind of was looking over the little bullet point outline I have for the show and decided I didn't want to talk about any of it and threw it out, came up with something different. I decided because it's actually Thursday today when I'm recording this. I'm supposed to be a little busy on Friday when this video is going to come out, so I'm recording it a day early. It is Thanksgiving today, so I decided I didn't really want to talk about politics. I mostly wanted to talk about Thanksgiving and maybe just a tiny little bit of politics right there at the end. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about our favorite comment from last week. Mr. Robert Thomas said, quote, "We're answering it. We voted Harris out, didn't we? Less than 2 months, baby. The adults are returning. Biden should be indicted for war crimes. He started the conflict in Ukraine, Korea, poked the Chinese. What Biden did recently was a clear provocation to start nuclear war. This is all him, not Putin. Biden deserves a trial, then jail. Hunter laptop is real. Russian collusion, a hoax. Collusion with Hillary is true. They accused Trump of doing everything that they were doing. Blah, blah, blah. All right. End of quote. All right, Robert, let me tell you this. I don't think Joe Biden's a war criminal. I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden. I don't know if you watch the show. Not a big fan. But he is not a war criminal. He is feckless and did a terrible job on the foreign policy front, but you can't lay war crimes committed by Hamas and Vladimir Putin on Joe Biden's doorstep. You can say he's responsible for helping start those conflicts, but he did not do anything that would necessitate him a trip to Guantanamo. So I'm going to disagree with you there, even if you seem very passionate about the subject. Thanks for watching. Anyway, Joe Biden, his true weakness really is foreign policy. He caused a lot of strife in the world, but again, doesn't make him a war criminal. And either way, he's a lame duck, so we can forget about him. He's out of office in 2 months. Anyway, so the first thing that we're going to talk about here is Thanksgiving. Now, I don't want to do a history on Thanksgiving or talk about the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and any of that stuff. I'm not as much interested in the history as I am about the message. I think that this is an important thing, that it's really why Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. There are 2 reasons. The first being it's an American holiday. There are not a lot of strictly American holidays, not the big ones that we celebrate here in the U.S. Things like Easter and Christmas, those are great holidays, but they're not American holidays. Even something like New Year's, which typically I would say is one of my favorite holidays, New Year's Day, because I'm all about, I think it's silly that people don't do this all the time, but I think it's a great day that people make goals and they're trying to better themselves, and I think that that's fine. That I think you should do it all the time, but New Year's Day is really a celebration of new beginnings, which I'm all about. You have 4th of July, but the message of 4th of July is just a celebration. Everyone likes fireworks. Everyone likes hot dogs and swimming in the pool. That's great. And the founding of our country is a wonderful thing to celebrate, but the message isn't necessarily one that carries on each year. It's not like people are going out there and just celebrating liberty, freedom, and the ideas of the founding. They're going out there to have a party. Thanksgiving, though. Thanksgiving is a different kind of holiday. It is an American holiday, and it is a holiday that is centered around a message that I think is better than any other holiday, and that is the idea of being grateful, right? The idea being that you need to be thankful for the things that you have in your life. And I think this is a message that most other holidays first of all, I can't think of another holiday that really has that message. You might say that some of the more religious holidays are supposed to have that message, but I'm sorry, Christmas is more commercialized than anything else. People, they like the gifts. You might like spending time with your family. You might enjoy these things, but the message of Christmas is often lost on most of the people who celebrate Christmas. The same could be said about something like Easter. You get together, you do an Easter egg hunt, you enjoy time with your family. This is all great. But the message for Easter is more of a celebration of Jesus being resurrected than it is about the actual message that Thanksgiving portrays, which is being grateful. Why is this such a good message? Why is it so unique, and what is important about it? The idea behind Thanksgiving, and I don't care. Again, we're not talking about the history. We're not talking about the past. But what you should be focused on is this idea that you, yourself, right now, are in possession of a superpower. And the superpower is a way that you can better your life in an instant if you choose to embrace it. And it is the idea of being grateful for what you have. So much of the negative emotions that we possess in this world come from being ungrateful or envious or dissatisfied with your current position. So there's nothing wrong with wanting more in life. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious. There's nothing wrong with any of this. But you can never overlook what you have right now, today, that you can be grateful for. Because if you focus on the things that you do not have, if you focus on what you want and what you need that you are not in your possession, the items or the people that you wish you were around, whatever the case may be, you are going to be an unhappy person. That person is never going to feel at peace because you always are constantly wanting more. The person who embraces the idea of being grateful for what you have, that person is invincible. That person is a happy person. It is hard to meet a person who you know to be a grateful person, a person who appreciates what they have in their life, and find out that they're deeply unhappy. That's just not the kind of person that is grateful. It's almost counterintuitive. They almost can't coexist at the same time. You can't be grateful for the things that you have in your life and be unhappy, because you have to recognize at any point that you are in a place where you have something to be grateful for. And this is, if you go back and you read philosophy or you look back through religious teaching, you could take the Buddhists, for example. I've always said that the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism are as close as anything in religion gets to summing up the human condition flat out. And it's basically because they recognize that the first tenet of the Four Noble Truths is that life is suffering, which I think is true. Inevitably, to live is to suffer. You are going to have hardships. You are going to have hard times. There are going to be obstacles that prevent you. Even if you live a healthy and awesome, wonderful life, eventually you're going to die. You're going to get sick. You're going to die. Something tragic is going to happen. The people you know and love are going to die. This is the way it is. Life eventually leads to suffering. And it sounds depressing, but it's not. Stay tuned. The second noble truth is that suffering is caused by desire. Not often. It is caused by desire. This is a universal human truth. Suffering, the suffering that we have, that we experience, it comes from one place, and that is desire. It comes from longing. Think about anything in the world that you are unhappy about, and it doesn't matter what it is. Oh, you're unhappy because whatever, you don't have enough money, or you got sick, or you want this thing that you don't have, or someone is being mean to you, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter what it is. Any of those can be spun to a way that you can frame it as a desire. You didn't get the job that you wanted. Obviously, you desired that job. You don't have money. Well, you desire money. You don't have the thing. Well, you desire the thing. Someone's being mean to you. Well, what is that? How does that have to do with desire? Well, you desire peace in your life. You desire this. You have this idea in your head, this way that you want to be treated, and it doesn't occur that way. And therefore, your desire for this thing, this idea you have in life of how you should be, it comes into conflict with reality, and it causes unhappiness. The third noble truth in Buddhism is that to relinquish suffering, you have to relinquish desire. Okay, so that is also a good lesson for everyone. And it's not necessarily, this does not mean, so if you were a monk, if you're a Buddhist monk, this means giving up worldly possessions. That's not the takeaway that most people need to take from this. To not have desire doesn't mean that you don't want things. It sounds like interchangeable words. It's not. It doesn't mean you can't be ambitious. It doesn't mean you can't want more in life. All it means is that if your desire outweighs your gratitude, you will be miserable. That's what they're talking about. If I say, for example, okay, I have a phone, and my phone's a little old. I could use a new phone. If my desire for the new phone outweighs being content with having this phone right here, right now, that works, well, it's going to lead me to be unhappy. I'm going to have to go out. I'm going to have to buy this phone. I'm going to have to do this thing. I could go do that. It's not a problem. I can go buy the phone. But the phone is not what's going to make me happy. You have to understand that. Being grateful, for example, that I have a phone would make me happy. That's where gratitude lies. That's the superpower you possess. It's this idea. You can get the new thing. It's nothing wrong with wanting something. That's actually not the takeaway by saying relinquish desire. Relinquish desire just means you have to be content with what you have. You can want other things, but you can't let your wants and your desires negatively impact your emotional state. There's no reason for it. You need a phone. That's fine. It's fine to want a phone. It's fine to want anything in life. But if wanting the thing is making you miserable, you're doing it wrong. If you're saying, I can't be happy unless X, that's not true. You could be happy right now. You have to reframe your mind. And to me, that is what this holiday should be about. It should be about this idea where you have to take a moment and you have to reflect and you have to think about something. Because so many people will say, and this is not a knock on anyone who says this, so many people today are going to say, well, I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful I have food to eat. And you say, well, that's great. That's nice. But give it some real thought. Okay, you're talking about basic things that everyone says they're thankful for. But are you truly grateful for that? Are you very thankful? Are you really the kind of person who feels grateful for those things? I'm not saying you don't. I'm asking you deep down to do some reflection. Do you treat the people in your life like you are grateful for them to be there? Do they know all the time that you feel that way? Or when you go around the Thanksgiving table today and you say, hey, I'm thankful for family. Does every person at that table, would they feel like that's true? Do you treat the people in your life like you're grateful for them to be a part of it? Are you grateful for the simple things in life? You'll say, oh, I'm grateful we're all here and we get to eat this wonderful food. Are you really? Do you really mean that? Because you should be. You should be grateful for those things. If there are people in your life who today you're sitting down at the table with, you should be grateful for every one of those people to be in your life. And you should really mean it because obviously they're close enough or special enough to be in this place where you're having this gathering, and that should say something. It should say something to you about the role that those people play in your life. There will also be people who can't be there. And just because they can't be there doesn't mean you shouldn't be grateful for them. People have their own lives. You live far away. Travel's expensive or hard or inconvenient sometimes. I get this. It's all fine. But do they know? Does everybody in your life that you love know that you love them? Do you feel like the fact that you get to sit down and eat a meal, do you understand what that means? The fact that I'm assuming most of you who watch this show, if you live in the United States, for example, you get to eat a meal. There are people in the world who don't get to do that every day. There are people in the world who have to get up every day and walk 5 miles to a well to get water for the day and then walk back. It takes 4 hours of their day to walk back and forth to get water. Have you ever thought about how you can turn a tap and have water today, right now, no matter where you are in the country? It's little things in life that you take for granted. And if you think about the car that you don't have, or the new computer, or the watch, or, whatever, the cool people who didn't invite you to their Thanksgiving, if you think about these things that you don't have and you don't remember that every one basically of the hierarchy of needs, every one of them, you probably take for granted every single day of your life. If you don't remember that, then you're doing yourself a disservice. That's how you wind up being an unhappy person. It's just like anxiety. Anxiety is often, it takes place in the present, but it's about the future. We get anxious about things that might happen. We get anxious about things that could occur or possible things that could go wrong, and everyone gets all freaked out. Well, what if? Well, what if none of that happens and you're just wasting your mental energy worrying about things that never come to pass, which, by the way, most of the things that people get anxious for never happen. All you're doing is you're paying a debt to yourself that you do not need to pay. You are charging yourself rent to live in your head for no reason. And it's just like that with anxiety, as it is with unhappiness, as it is with depression. It's all about reframing your mind. Bad things could happen. And if they happen, then we have to face them. We have to deal with them. We have to take care of them. That's the way it is. That's the human condition. We have to do this. It makes you stronger to deal with adversity. But why would I worry about things that I just are a possibility? They might happen. It doesn't mean I shouldn't be prepared for bad things. It doesn't mean I should put my head in the sand and ignore possible futures. But what it means is just recognize there's only so much I can do. If I can't do anything to prevent it, then worrying about it doesn't help. If I can do something to prevent it, then I don't need to worry about it because I can prevent it. So what good does worrying do me in any case, in any situation, about anything? And so that's what I mean. This idea that we have built around this holiday of being grateful, being thankful for what you have. Take a moment today. And I understand you're going to see this on Friday. It's not coming out on Thanksgiving. Take a moment. I don't care if it's Friday. Take a moment today. I don't care if you watch this next week. Take a moment wherever you are and really think about your life and what you have in it. And make, even if you write down a physical list, you're unhappy about things, you could write down a list of things you're unhappy about. You're happy about things. Write down a list of things you should be grateful for. Basic things, little things. If you can't think of a thing in your life, you're not doing the exercise properly, because I promise you, you have something. You have something in your life that you should be grateful for. And it doesn't matter how distressed you are or how bad off you are. There is something. I was going to bring this up earlier, and that's why one of the reasons I went down this little rabbit hole. Viktor Frankl wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. If you've never read it, you should read it. But he was a doctor. He was a psychoanalyst, I believe is what his title was. But he was a psychoanalyst. He was in the Holocaust. He was in a concentration camp. And he actually wrote this book after surviving the concentration camp. And he talked about the difference between people who died and the difference between people who lived. And it wasn't just random acts of cruelty. Obviously, those were plenty. But the people who lived tend to hold on to a reason or a purpose, or they felt like they had something to live for. You're talking about people who were kidnapped, starved, beaten, put through the most torturous experience you could possibly imagine. And they found something in their life to live for. Whatever it was. I'm not going to try and speculate as to what that was, but they held on to something. There was a reason that they could find what was worth living through, what is only could be described as hell on earth. If they can find something, I promise you, whatever you're going through, however hard it is, however difficult it is, find a reason to be grateful for something, and you can start this chain of events that might lead you to feel better down the road. And that's it. That's the superpower. That's the trick. There's nothing else that the Stoics or philosophy or religious teaching can tell you about this other than you have to train your mind to be happy. That's the way it works, and that's what this holiday is all about. That's why I love it. It is impossible to be unhappy if you're a grateful person. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. There are plenty of times when people get down or anything, and everyone is not always the best at practicing what they preach, but I can tell you that the times when you embrace this kind of philosophy are the times in your life where you will feel like you can accomplish anything, and you will feel better for it. So I hope everyone out there enjoys their holiday and really enjoys their family and friends, and anyone who happens to be around you today that you can just fully appreciate and be in the moment. Just enjoy it. Have fun. And before we go, I know it's been 20 minutes of me talking about Thanksgiving, but before we go, I did want to talk about two real quick things. And we're going to switch it. We're going to be a little political, but we're going to be quick about them because I'm trying to keep the spirit up here because this is a fun holiday and I'm going to have fun today. So we're going to just keep it light. I wanted to say I heard something this week that I thought was brilliant. You heard me a lot before this election. I was very concerned about if the Democrats won the election, what they would do in regards to a couple things. We have political norms in this country, and you hear people on the left, they talk often about the fact that Donald Trump doesn't respect political norms. He does X, Y, and Z, and it breaks precedent, and presidents don't act this way, and how terrible he is. Well, I actually feel it's the exact opposite. I have felt that the Democratic Party has done a very bad job of respecting norms and precedent in a way that the Republicans just don't. The Republicans respect the institutions a lot more than the Democratic Party. And I have a couple examples. One, and I don't care what you have to say about this, I'm not interested in debating it. The lawfare against Donald Trump set a ugly, nasty precedent, and it never should have come to pass that any of these lawsuits that happened when Donald Trump left office should have taken place. I don't care what you have to say about it. I have done a deep dive on every one of them. It is ridiculous, not respecting the lawfare against the rule of law as it has always been respected in regards to presidents is just abhorrent. I don't know what to say about it. That's bad. The other thing that has really bothered me is this idea, the way that the Democrats have talked about abolishing the filibuster. They have talked about packing the Supreme Court, and they have talked about dismantling the Electoral College. These things right there are just, if you want to talk about a fundamental destruction and sure path to the annihilation of the United States, you can do these three things. That's it. Dismantle the Electoral College, blow up the filibuster, and pack the Supreme Court. All of a sudden, if you do those things, this country, all the talk about the Civil War Part 2, I think that this is the kind of stuff that really puts the country in a gigantic black hole. It could just suck everything down, and this could wind up terribly. And the Democrats are openly talking about this. If they had won, and they had won the Senate, or they won the House, they won the presidency, they were going to do these things. They were going to blow up 230-something years of precedent and dismantle these institutions. So my thought on this is that this cannot be a one-sided threat. That if the Democrats win, they get to blow up precedent and do whatever they want. And if the Republicans win, everything goes about hunky-dory, same as it's always been. It can't be that way. Because otherwise, what happens is the Republicans play by the rules, and the Democrats, when they win, will cheat and break everything and destroy the system. So how do you fix that? The Republicans have won. They control both they have a majority on the Supreme Court. They have the presidency. They have both houses of Congress. The Republicans are in control. What should they do? I don't want to see anyone blow up the filibuster. I don't want to see anyone pack the Supreme Court. However, what do you do when the Democrats have threatened to do that, and now you're in charge? I heard this get floated out there. I believe they were saying Jeremy Boring was the one who floated this idea. I think it's brilliant. What the Republicans should do is introduce legislation to cement the filibuster into law and give it a time horizon of 24 months starting from January. So what this means is that there would be 24 months, 2 years would go by, that the Democrats would have to cement the filibuster into law, make it so that neither party can dismantle the filibuster, make it an official part, because it's just precedent. It's not actually a law. It's a congressional rule that can be stripped out at any point, basically. And they want to make it a law. And so what that would mean is that because it's a law, any major legislation that passes through the Senate would require 60-something votes. This is a good law. This would be a fine law. What this would do is after 24 months, if the Democrats have not signed it into law, if they will not go along with the Republicans and sign this bill into law, the Republicans will blow up the filibuster and do all the things that the Democrats were threatening to do during this presidential election. So that means blowing up the filibuster. That means packing the Supreme Court. It means doing all of these things that the Democrats threatened to do and playing by the Democrat rules. I love this idea. It's kind of a threat, but it's not really, because the Democrats started it. It's the same thing that happened with the federal judiciary when the Democrats got rid of the filibuster to appoint federal judges. And Mitch McConnell said, if you do that, when we get back in power, we're going to do the same thing. And now they whine and complain that there's a majority on the Supreme Court, a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. The Democrats did that. They got rid of the filibuster, not the Republicans. It didn't go, it happened in that order, not in the other order. So the Democrats did it to themselves, and now they curse every day about the Republican majority because Donald Trump got to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices who they hate. And now they're threatening to do it again. They didn't learn any lessons the last time, and now they're going to do it again. This is a terrible idea, but the Jeremy Boring plan is a fantastic plan. Someone needs to take this up. Someone needs to do it immediately when Congress gets in session in January, because the second this new Congress is sworn in, that should be number one priority. Protecting the American system against the tyranny of the majority, which is what the filibuster does. It forces both sides to make concessions because very rarely does someone have a 60-seat majority in Congress. So anyway, I think it's a great idea. I just wanted to float that idea out there because I heard it earlier this week and I thought it was brilliant. And then I want to, just before we go here, how long have we been on? 25 minutes. Okay, so just before we go, I wanted to show you this video that I alluded to in the intro. If you haven't seen it, just take a look at this real quick and tell me what you think.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Okay, so that's the video we were talking about. How drunk is she? I can't believe that somebody put this out. First of all, actually, take a look at this real quick before we click off this. So the video has 23,000 likes, 32,000 comments. For those of you not familiar what that means on Twitter, is that is called getting ratioed. When you get more comments than likes, that means you put out a terrible video. This is put out, by the way, by the official The Democrats Twitter page. This is where the Democrats post. This is what it happens. But the comments, obviously, these are all people I follow, but just, holy shit, she's hosed. Has she been drinking? She doesn't look good. And just a bunch of people talking about, oh, this picture right here, this is your liver. This is your liver on alcohol. What happened to her? That is unfortunate. But I just want to know, who put this video out? And why would you do this to her? It's sad. I don't really like Kamala Harris. I think I've let that be known. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I think she's a snake and an opportunist. I'm not a big fan. But it is sad to watch somebody melt down in public. That is just not a good look. And the fact that the Democrats, the official Democrat page, put that out, it leads me to believe that they are trying to get her any hopes of a political career she might have just to implode it. I just don't see how you could put that out. Someone had to record that. That is a professionally made video. They have the lighting. They have the camera. Clearly I don't know if she's talking off the cuff, but she clearly had a message she wanted to put out. And I'm thinking to myself, so they put production value into that video. It's a 30-second video. I think it goes longer, but that's the 30-second clip that they clipped out of it. And you put production money into that video. Was that the best take that you had? If so, oh my gosh. If that's the best that she could do, how sauced is she? Because that is a terrible look for her. She looks like she has spent the last 3 weeks dragging herself into a bottle, and I don't know. It's just not a good look. Like I said, she's always had a reputation, and I'm surprised that more people don't know this. She always has had a reputation for being a drinker. I don't know how many times you've seen her in public have these moments, and exactly like I said in the intro, it feels like one of your relatives puts his arm around you at Thanksgiving and just starts talking about whatever, public policy, and you're going, oh my God, I need to get away from this guy. That's what she looks like. She looks like if she, first of all, she looks like she'd lean too close to you to try and talk. You know how drunk people like to get in too close to your personal space and then try and whisper. She looks like she would be one of those people right there. She looks like she would be trying to whisper in your ear about, don't you lose your power. Don't you lose your power. You still got it. You're the best. I love you. Give me a kiss. And it's like, okay, Kamala, let's cut her off. She needs to take a break because it's just not a good look for the Democrats. The fact that they put that out to me just says that people don't like her. And that's all it says, because I feel like that's just an underhanded way of making her look bad. They put out this message that she sends. They put out a nice comment. They said, oh, Kamala says, don't lose your spirit. And it seems nice, but it's underhanded. And, you know, I don't think she has a political career at all. They talk about her running for governor of California or running for president again. I think she gets hosed in any of those elections. She's not winning anything again. Her political career is over. And we say, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Anyway, we are going to leave it there for the day. As always, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys really enjoyed your holiday. And any questions, comments, concerns, you know, all that good stuff, leave it down below, and we'll address it on next week's show. Until then, I'm Tyler Chrestman. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Friday.